All wings report in.
House Dog, standing by.
Mother Goose, standing by.
Low Tech Tuck, standing by.
Lock S foils in attack position. Animal Squadron ready for battle.
Well, hello there. I'm House Dog. This is Animal Squadron. I'm a little upset today. One of our members is gone. Forever. And I'm stuck with Elijah. Welcome back, Mother Goose.
Okay. Stuck with Elijah. All right, that's fine.
I said what I said.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mother Goose, and I'm glad to be here.
I didn't say I wasn't glad to be here. I just said I was sad.
No. Your exact words were stuck with, exactly.
He forces me to do this podcast. Please help. He's been making me do this for years.
Actually, recording this episode was Tucker's idea, even though he's not here.
Gone, but always in our hearts.
Always in our hearts. Today we're doing another character highlight over Din Djarin, the Mandalorian. I do want to just give your audience a heads up. We're recording this in November of 2024, and we plan to just keep this in the tank as an emergency if we need an episode. So who knows when you're listening to this, and the information you're hearing today may or may not be up to date.
Relevant, accurate, or matter.
It's accurate up to now. Right
Who
now.
knows? Do you remember that time that Din Djarin fought Jar Jar on Mustafar?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Darksaber?
Do you remember that one time that Din Djarin accidentally cooked Grogu? That was a weird arc.
It was. Especially whenever Grogu came back.
I know, the Force Ghost Grogu to haunt him.
The Force works in mysterious ways, my friend.
The Force works in mysterious ways. But yeah, in terms of why I wanted to do this episode today, I was kind of considering doing a top 5 Mandalorians instead, and then I was like, I mean, multiple, if not all of us, are going to put Din at the top, so let's just do a Din episode right now.
Yeah, this was your episode pick, and you picked Din.
I did.
Which kind of surprised me. You mentioned doing a character highlight tonight, and I was like, I don't care who we pick. I'll just come on and talk about whatever for however long we want to talk. And so I left it up to you, and I was very surprised that you picked Din.
I feel like, again, I have no idea when we're going to post this, but we're in the Mando era right now, mostly with the Disney Plus shows and then the upcoming Dave Filoni movie, really hoping it's out, maybe, or still in production. But
Things
I don't know.
happens all the time.
Din is a just really important character for this era, and I think you could even argue that he is the main character of this era. He is this era's Luke Skywalker.
Ooh, that's a bold claim, sir.
Yeah. Again, I mean, Star Wars, with almost all Star Wars media, it's an ensemble cast and all the characters matter, but sometimes there's one character that just maybe matters a little bit more than the others.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call him the Luke Skywalker of this generation. I think, as far as main characters go, I think they've tried really hard to make Ahsoka the main character for this generation, which I'm not hating on it, but you got to think of whenever she was brought in. She was brought in for the next generation of Star Wars kids during Clone Wars. Yep. All the adults that were still watching Star Wars, we were young adults during that time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, whenever Clone Wars came out, we were kids. I used to watch it on Cartoon Network, but we were getting a little bit older.
Yeah.
When did Clone Wars come out, by the way? I'll look it up real quick. I think I can work
I'm going to make
Google.
a guess. 2008 is when the movie came out.
You say 2008?
Yeah.
I say 2009.
Okay, all right.
But the reason why I say her is because she's like really the character that was for... Oh, wow, Elijah. August 10th, 2008.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
Good job. So that's
Thank
whenever the film came out, which started the Clone Wars series.
Right.
And everyone else hated Ahsoka. Absolutely hated Ahsoka. And honestly, I don't think I was a big fan of Ahsoka until I got a little bit older too.
Yeah. Oh no, I hated Ahsoka during that movie, but mostly it was the actually we never heard about Ahsoka in episode 3, so why are they adding her now mentality. In my defense, I was 11 at the time, so
Opinions can change.
Opinions can change, and it did change.
Because Ahsoka's one of your favorite characters now.
Yeah, I don't know if she's my favorite Star Wars character overall, but definitely favorite Jedi.
You literally have a fulcrum tattoo.
I literally have a fulcrum tattoo. I have multiple Ahsoka Funko Pops. Don't worry about it.
I know what you're doing in that virginity corner, you sicko.
You do not, actually.
You sicko.
Mostly it's just painting minis.
Yeah, is that what the kids call it these days? Painting minis?
What I'm doing? Yeah, that is what they call it.
This is a family-friendly podcast, Elijah.
And I'm doing family-friendly things with the Warhammer minis and Heroescape minis that I paint. You can literally see the cyborg that I painted last.
I don't want to see what you're quote-unquote painting in that corner.
Anyway, but yes, so we have, instead of getting a 4th season of Mando, we're getting Din Djarin and Grogu, or maybe the Mandalorian and Grogu. I can't remember exactly what they're calling it. We're getting a movie, and that's going to be exciting. And Dave Filoni's movie. I really think these 2 movies are going to end up tying up this era. We may get a couple other things, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Din Djarin and Ahsoka really are leading this era.
I don't know. I've said it before on here, but I really have enjoyed Star Wars as a series, as a TV series more than I think. I mean, at times, I think I enjoy it more than the films.
Yeah.
Because it just has always had that serial feel to it. Mm-hmm. And I think it does really well as a serial, no matter who they're covering, whether it's Mando or Ahsoka or Boba Fett, which wasn't well received, but we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Andor, we have Skeleton Crew coming up. Mm-hmm. And then as well as how they branched out into other studios with the Visions.
Yeah.
So I think they've got something now. Not that I'm not excited for the Mando films. I'm super excited. It'll be cool to see Mando on the big screen. Anytime I can see the word Star Wars on the big screen, I'm happy.
Yeah. I will admit, I am a little worried about the Mandalorian and Grogu and Dave Filoni's movie, just because in terms of a movie viewing experience, I'm worried they're not going to be able to stand on their own 2 feet, which for us is not going to be a big issue because we love Star Wars. We've seen every piece of Star Wars multiple times for a lot of things. Going in, we're going to be like, hell yeah, I know the context for this because I've seen Rebels, I've seen Ahsoka, I've seen Mandalorian. I'm kind of worried about more casual fans going into the movie theater and not necessarily understanding everything. Which is it's not their fault at all. It's the Marvelification of Star Wars that I'm worried about.
That's a very good way to put it. How you have to watch everything to get it. And interconnected universes are super cool.
Yeah.
But I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
you want to talk about Din?
Yeah, we should definitely talk about Din.
So what do you think
really
about Din's story? He is a really cool guy. Because the first season, we were just getting snippets of who Din Djarin was in his past, which I really liked how anytime we got more of his story was anytime he collected a new piece of armor. I thought it was a really interesting way to tell his story.
Yeah, for sure.
With the flashbacks and everything. I really enjoyed how they chose to tell his story that way. I thought it was interesting to do.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. And I love that they brought in little bits of detail. Death Watch and what they became after Maul's defeat. But no, overall, I really, really enjoy his story. And I know, like, in terms of Animal Squadron and reviewing the actual Mandalorian, we have not gotten to Season 3 yet. But I genuinely really enjoyed Season 3, too, which I know kind of had a mixed... A lot of people felt mixed about it. But I really enjoyed it. And I like where they're taking Din, especially how it ended with him and Grogu, like, finally being able to just settle down together. Of course, that's not going to last long, but at least they get a moment of peace.
At least they get to sit on the porch for, like, maybe a half hour before somebody comes to the house and says, Mando, we need your help.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm seeing it now. It opens with the ending of Season 3 where they're sitting on the porch and being happy. And it opens with Thrawn's Star Destroyer coming into orbit.
Oh my god. I'd be so mad. At least give him a couple days.
That's how it's gonna go, man.
Yeah.
I'm calling it now. That's my prediction.
I'm thinking it's gonna be Ezra that finds him. Ezra and Hera. I think Hera's gonna hear about this Mandalorian and maybe Force-sensitive child that's been helping out in the Outer Rim and seek them out to help with Thrawn.
Right, because Sabine and Ahsoka are trapped on wherever that place is. The planet.
Which, eventually, I mean, they're going to get back at some point, but I don't think they're going to be the ones to bring Din in.
Right. What'd you think? I think this is like one of the most controversial points of Din's story. But the first time he removes his mask to reveal his face.
I was happy with it. I'm not going to lie, that first season, I was really confused by the whole we always wear our mask, never show our face thing, because obviously this was incredibly different from what we saw in the Clone Wars.
Right. Which is the most Mandalorian we've ever had.
Right.
Besides like one arc in Rebels where Sabine goes back home to Mandalore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and even in that arc, I mean, they took off their helmets as well.
Right.
So I felt a little confused. I know there were a lot of, like, Mandalorian-only viewers who didn't watch the Clone Wars that were confused when, like, Bo-Katan and her group got brought in, and they did take their helmets off. I liked that moment. I think narratively it was very, very powerful, and I was glad to see that he was willing to test his beliefs. What about you?
I think initially I was honestly kind of upset because we all knew who was playing Mandalorian, you know, Pedro Pascal, which Mandalorian is actually played by 3 people.
Right.
There's the one gentleman that does all of the stunt work. There's the other that I think is like John Wayne's grandson or like great-grandson or something. And he does all of like Mando's like gun slinging and stuff like that, which is why it looks so good. And then Pedro Pascal is the voice and sometimes wears the armor for scenes where there's no combat or gunslinging involved. And I really liked knowing who was under the mask.
Yeah.
But the anonymity of it, of the character, of Din Djarin himself, not knowing who Din Djarin was.
Yeah.
So that moment kind of made me upset. Like I understood, like story-wise, I understood why he did it. It was to show growth and that sort of thing. But honestly, I was kind of like, why did he have to take it off? I liked it. I liked him just being a helmet.
Yeah.
Because it's easier, I guess, to see yourself in characters when they have no face.
Yeah.
You know, anybody can be Mandalorian whenever you don't know what he looks like.
Yeah.
Not that that takes away from the character or anything, but that's initially how I felt about that time.
Yeah, and you know what? I never really considered that, but I think that might be a big reason that people who grew up with the original trilogy really don't like what they've done with Boba Fett for that exact same reason. We never saw Boba Fett's face. We didn't know much about him. It was really easy to like put yourself into that character.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the guy who played Boba Fett, you would not think that was Boba Fett.
Yeah. Yeah. But
The
I
original actor from Jedi and Empire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
And
Tamara Morrison.
I see what you're saying, and I'm really glad that even moving forward past that moment, they've still very sparingly showed Din without his helmet. I don't know. I think Hollywood is kind of afraid to have people wear their helmets. It's either that or just we have our star power. So a couple other examples, like the Halo television series. Master Chief almost never had his helmet on, which I think was a huge mistake. Or we could look at Marvel. They have their helmets on for like a few minutes, and then most of the time they have their helmet off. My two examples, Halo, they were too afraid or unsure how to show an actor with a helmet. Marvel, they wanted the stars. But I think that's a mistake. I think having these helmeted characters can add a lot to the story, and I think The Mandalorian, and specifically Din Djarin, is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, well, I remember whenever we were like initially reviewing Mando, like years ago now, that was one of our favorite things about it was that he wore his helmet all the time. And that you could still understand Mando's emotions even though he had a mask on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was great. Still love it. My other favorite non-helmet Pedro Pascal moment is season 2 whenever they break into that Imperial base.
Yeah.
I love that part. Mm-hmm. That one, for me, that was a better moment than the one in season 1 with Grogu.
Are you talking about with Grogu? Are you talking about when he takes his helmet off before Luke takes him away? Or are you talking about when he gets hurt in the season finale?
Oh, I forgot about that part. And IG-11 has the take off his helmet. I forgot about that part. Yeah, I was talking about with Grogu initially. I forgot about IG-11 saving him.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I actually, sorry, I thought I thought you were talking about the IG-11 scene. The Grogu scene, I adore that scene. That scene is just such a powerful moment for Din. I think it really encapsulates the change he's made over his journey. Even like all 3 seasons, even though season 3 happened after this moment, like this scene is the perfect example of Din and how he's changed.
Yeah. Got my timeline wrong. Been a long time since I've seen season 1.
Real. Maybe we'll have to go back at some point after we finally finish reviewing the rest of season 2 and season 3.
We might have to finish the series first before we go back again.
Yeah, for sure. Who knows? Maybe by the time this episode comes out, we'll have actually finished our Mandalorian review.
I wouldn't bet on that.
I actually went and checked because we mentioned it in the episode. It had been over 40 episodes between our chapter 13 and chapter 14 reviews. It's like 40 episodes and almost a year in between.
Well, if you're a huge Mando fan, sorry.
Sorry. We love The Mandalorian. We do. And that's why we're talking about Din today. I kind of want to talk about his gear and stuff, if you're okay with that.
Of course. I was hoping we would.
Hell yeah. He's got standard Mandalorian armor. I won't talk about it too much just because most Mandalorians have it, but I still love a good Mandalorian armor. I love Beskar. I think Din's silver Beskar looks just so clean.
Mm-hmm.
But his rifle that he uses, mostly in season 1, do you remember what that's called?
A rifle.
Yeah, rifle.
Which is actually from the holiday special. They brought it back.
It's from the holiday special. It's
right around the corner,
callback.
Elijah. I'll never stop bringing it up. It's coming.
It's coming. And then the Razor Crest, we actually just did our ships episode we've talked about a little bit, is just amazing. The Razor Crest and his Nubian both just represent him and where he is in his life so well. I don't know. I feel like even though he does have a lot of standard Mandalorian gear, he still really sticks out with some of his other accessories.
I'm sorry, did you just call the Naboo and one starfighter a Nubian?
I did. And you know what? Don't worry about it.
I just heard Watto in my head.
I know. I was hoping you wouldn't catch it.
Nubian, huh? Republic credits are no good here. Sorry. Jedi tricks don't work on me. Only money. All right, I'm done now. Honestly, I really like Din's pistol. It's one of my favorites. Like for years, my go-to pistol was the DC-17s, which is what Rex carries. And then the DL-44 or Han's pistol. But I really like Din's. It's not flashy. It's really simple. It fits like that cowboy Old West persona that like he had. And the spear that he got from Morgan Elsworth, whatever her name is. Liked when he got the spear during that season. Jetpacks are always cool. I was waiting forever for Din to finally get a jetpack.
Yeah. I love that moment in season 1 where he's with the other Mandalorians and he's like, I gotta get one of those. Yep. And he's flying the Razor Crest. Whistling birds. Loved whenever they brought those in. Such a cool thing. Yeah. Very useful. I mean, all Mandalorians are really cool. Most Mandalorians show off how deadly they are, but Din just really shows off how capable the Mandalorians truly are.
All the original Mandalorians, like the reason why their gear's set up the way it is to fight Jedi. So like whenever you think of the whistling birds, like, yeah, they're great for killing multiple targets, but you got to think about if you had to use that to like fight a Jedi, it'd be perfect because it's multiple projectiles coming at you at once. They're not laser based. So you can't deflect it back. They just explode on impact.
Yeah.
So those are great for Jedi. And
The
then of course he has
the rope, the jetpack.
Yeah, all the normal stuff that like all Mandos have, you know, like you mentioned, flamethrower, the rope dart thing.
Yeah. And I think that's shown off really well in chapter, I think it's 13, The Jedi, when he does fight Ahsoka. I know it's a short fight, but still a really good one.
Yeah, he like almost took Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Which is pretty impressive because she's really good at combat.
Ooh. Here's a really good question. We haven't seen many Mandalorians fight Jedis. We've gotten a couple fights, but Maul versus the wielder of the Darksaber, I can't remember what his name was. That fight where they fought over the Darksaber and who will lead the Children of the Watch, and Din and Ahsoka's fight. Which one did you think was a better, like, Force wielder Mandalorian fight?
That was Vizsla. Whenever he fought Vizsla.
Right.
That was whenever we really started the Vizsla line.
Yeah.
Which comes back in Mando.
Right. Also, there's the Jango Fett versus Mace Windu fight, but that one was
pretty short.
Yeah.
Maul is just such a ferocious animal. That, and we're dealing with two different forms of media as well.
Right.
Which is always hard to compare whenever you're looking at animation versus live action. Din had to rely more on his gear than Vizsla did because Vizsla, like, obviously had some sword training and everything like that. And we see Din struggle with the Darksaber multiple times once he acquires it. And it's not an easy weapon to wield. Because it's all it's connected through the user and their emotions and everything else and how comfortable they feel. So I don't know. If I had to pick one, I would say Din probably did better.
Yeah.
But Ahsoka also wasn't trying to kill him.
Right. And I also think that the skill gap probably between Ahsoka and Din was probably a little larger than it was with Maul and Vizsla. I mean, as much as I love Maul, he's really not that great of a fighter.
Yeah, but he's really good at not dying.
He's phenomenal at not dying. But I think I'd have to give it to the Din and Ahsoka fight as well.
What else would you like to talk about, Din, my friend?
I have a really big question. So when we started watching this series back in 2019, we both felt very strongly that Mando was going to become the Mandalore. By the end of the series, he would be leading his people and, unite them. Now that we're 3 seasons in with a movie on the way, how are you feeling about that?
I don't think he will be the Mandalore.
I don't either.
I don't know, though. With the end of season 3 and him being, like, reborn because he swam in the waters, and he found the, what's the creature called?
Oh, Mythosaur.
Yeah, and he found, like, the ancient Mythosaur in the water. Like, that's a pretty big deal in their culture and everything.
Yeah.
And it has to mean something.
Yeah.
What it means, I'm not sure. What is he chosen? I don't know. And I think it'd be interesting to have a foundling leading the Mandalorians.
Yeah. I think the direction that they're going with is that Din has a stake. If he truly wanted to lead Mandalore, he could. And the other Mandalorians would follow him. But I think he gave that up to be a dad, and I love that for him.
Yeah, and I don't know if he'll have to make a choice necessarily between being a father and leading his people, but now that like Grogu is one of the people and he is considered a foundling, that might change.
Yeah, I hadn't even considered that aspect, actually. That's a good point. I mean, how better can you guarantee a good life for your son if you're leading your people?
Yeah. Maybe one day Grogu will be the Mandalore.
Maybe. That's also something that I've seen people speculate, is that this isn't a story about Din becoming the Mandalore. It's a story about him raising the next one. And I do think that's an interesting theory.
Which would make sense because Grogu's species lives for so long.
Yeah, yeah.
So he could like kind of ensure that the Mandalorians will always be around because he'll be around for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, really, the Mandalorians are built on, not fully, but a lot of foundlings. I mean, hypothetically, if they all got wiped out and Grogu survived, he could build another group of Mandalorians.
Did you not hear my Rogue One reference there?
I didn't. I'm sorry, Pookie.
Oh, you said Mandalorians are built on, and I just said hope.
Hell yeah. They are built on hope. They got purged too, and they're still standing.
They did. That's definitely something that I want them to go back to. And that's what kind of makes me sad.
Tears.
Yes, I want the Night of 1,000 Tears so bad from start to finish.
Yeah. I could totally see that being a Tales of the Mandalorian episode or group of episodes.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see Mando in cartoon form.
Yeah. I'd also really like to see Bo-Katan. Like, we've kind of heard what happened that night from her perspective, but I'd still like to see it.
Yeah.
And I actually don't know. We don't really know what. I don't think Din was around Mandalore during the Night of 1,000 Tears, was he?
Yeah, that was his whole storyline in season 1. Him being found by Death Watch was the Night of 1,000 Tears, when all the droids are attacking and he like hides in that dumpster and they find him.
A Night of 1,000 Tears was the Empire, though. Those were different events, I think.
Were they?
Yeah, because he was
found.
Oh,
yeah, because he was found during a droid. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Night of 1,000 Tears happened, I think, either shortly before or shortly after episode 6.
It took place in 1 BBY.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You know what? That makes sense because the Empire was probably starting to realize, oh, hey, the rebellion's an actual threat. If the Mandalorians had teamed up with the rebels, that would have been devastating for them.
Yeah.
There's also all the events in Rebels with, them trying to, with Sabine's story and building a weapon that can hurt the Mandalorians, and then the Empire loyalist Mandalorians fighting Clan Ren, and how that all plays out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think timeline-wise, that was a really smart place for them to put that event.
Yeah, I definitely want to know more about it.
Yeah. But yeah, so I know this isn't Din directly, but how do you feel about the Children of the Watch?
Like the foundlings and everything?
Yeah, and their almost culty nature.
I like it because we find out that Django was a foundling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how he has ties, and that's why he has armor.
Yeah. Which really adds some deep context to that one douchey Mandalorian's comment in Clone Wars where he's like, Jango Fett's not a real Mandalorian.
And then you have the argument, who's the real Mandalorians, you know?
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
born of Mandalore or those found along the way?
Right? But no, I really like the Children of the Watch. Again, it was a little confusing for me at first, but I think going this route of them being, them hiding, trying to stay alive, most of them thinking that all the other Mandalorians are dead, which is the whole reason they wear their helmet is, if you can't see the faces, you can't really tell how many of them there are. I really like that aspect of this group.
Well, I think it also points to a more philosophical point as well. Why they don't remove their helmets is because it takes away that sense of self and that you're a part of a collective.
Yeah.
Everyone is the helmet.
Yeah.
We're not individuals. We're a group. We're the survivors. We're foundlings. And together we all make a family.
Yeah.
And the individual doesn't matter. You're serving the group, which is very culty, but
Yeah. It is very culty, but it's it's culty in a sweet way. Like, these Mandalorians genuinely care about each other. They genuinely love each other.
yeah, except for the Vizsla.
Yeah. Well, he grows, he changes.
Yeah, they eventually become brothers and then he dies.
Yeah, like all brothers do.
True.
At least he died saving the rest of the Mandalorians and not, in a lava field.
You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you.
I don't know. I thought, based on everything we've seen in Clone Wars, I love the idea of the Children of the Watch, of how they evolved from the Death Watch, and it just makes sense to me that they would go into hiding and become this almost cult-like group.
Right, because they started out as a terrorist organization.
Yeah, yeah. They're not terrorists anymore. They've changed.
They've changed. They've got some new rules.
Have you seen, talking about Children of the Watch, the only one who hasn't changed, however, is the Armorer. And she, regardless of who she is, she still proudly wears her maul horns.
See, I've seen posts about that those actually aren't maul horns, that it's like an old Mandalorian thing.
Interesting. Okay.
I've seen different arguments that say both, that because the problem is we haven't seen the maul horns in live action. We've only seen them in cartoons.
Yeah. Maybe they look different in live action.
Yeah.
And this is just a coincidence.
Yeah.
I could see that, but I think I disagree with that. I think the Children of the Watch, obviously being an offshoot of Death Watch, I think it makes sense that at least one of their members still has the maul horns. And I'm not saying she's still a terrorist. I'm not saying she's evil or served Maul directly. I'm just saying that clearly there's still some connection there.
We can only infer that she was one of the first of the original, of this little sect of where Din comes from, right?
Right.
Her helmet, if that is part of the Maul Death Watch helmets, that could have just been something that she scavenged from that time.
Yeah.
But
for sure. And
her helmet's the only one that we ever see that's cut the particular way it is.
Right.
Like her eye slits and everything. Hers is the only one that has that. Nobody on Death Watch had those.
Had that. Yeah. It's still a very unique helmet. I bring that up because I do genuinely believe that the Children of the Watch have changed and that Din is a much better Mandalorian than the Death Watch Mandalorians were. But the Armorer has a lot of sway over Din's life. I mean, she literally was the one, like, she helped him the whole Grogu thing. She built his armor. She was the one that was like, hey, you got to go to Mandalore if you want to redeem yourself. Like, if there was a leader of the Children of the Watch, it's definitely the Armorer. And regardless of if she's good or evil, she has sway over Din's life.
Yeah, I definitely want to find out more about her.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we haven't talked much about the Dadalorian aspect to him.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the best parts of the show. It's really well written. Obviously, the action's good. The special effects, real and CGI, both look really good. But this story aspect of Din going and finding this child, and, you know, we start with him turning him in for the bounty and then deciding, I can't do this, I gotta go back for him, to eventually becoming Grogu's dad and adopting him. I love this story.
It was the one that nobody asked for, but we didn't know we needed.
Yeah. Not in a million years, like when we were watching the trailers for the first season initially, is this where I thought they would have taken Din's story.
No, I thought we were getting like gritty cowboy bounty hunter western, and I was all in.
Yeah, which
And
we
not that
still
I'm-
have that aspect, but
Yeah, I'm not disappointed in what we ended up with or anything. I'm rather glad that we have the show that we have.
yeah.
But starting out, I did not see this becoming what it would be.
Yeah, I agree. And controversial take, I think Din might be the best dad in Star Wars.
There's not that many great ones. You've got Bale.
many.
Bale's a pretty good dad.
Bale was a good dad.
Let's see.
Owen Lars, that's right. Am I remembering his name correctly?
Yeah, Uncle Owen.
I know he's just an uncle, but I do think he tried his best with Luke.
Yeah, but I feel like he also had that like misplaced anger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because of Anakin and everything. I'm not saying he ever took it out on Luke, but you know, I feel like he never really got
differently. Yeah.
He never got close with Luke, or close enough to Luke to, you know, really, like in the original films, you can kind of tell that Luke and Owen aren't that close.
Yeah.
Beru was more of that like loving caretaker, and Uncle Owen was kind of just there to make sure he didn't die or get stolen by the Empire.
Right. Yeah, there's really not a lot. And I think part of that is probably, you know, a lot of our characters are Jedi. Obviously, most of them don't know their parents.
Yeah, that's true.
So he doesn't have a lot of competition, but I still really love that relationship they have.
Yeah, and it was probably time for a dad storyline in there to where we see that.
And, you know, we see him really sacrifice everything for Grogu. He goes back, he breaks the bounty hunter code to find him. He takes off his helmet to show him. He then goes and finds Grogu later in life. I don't know. He really cares about him, and I think that's amazing.
He is. Din Djarin for the win.
Some of my favorite moments are when he'll, like, the silver ball thing on his ship that he'll, like, take off and give to Grogu.
It was one of the only pieces that survived the explosion.
Yeah, he's kind of annoyed, but he just, like, he still does it anyway because he wants to make him happy.
Yeah. Those are good moments.
He's trying his best.
Aren't we all?
Well, is there anything else you wanted to talk about with Din?
Go watch Mandalorian, because it's going to take us another 3 years to review it, so...
Yeah. Hey, we're over halfway there. It's going to be great.
Hey, it was only a year in between Mando episodes. Maybe it'll be 6 months this time. Who knows?
Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm actually feeling pretty good about getting some progress done on Mandalorian. I don't think 2025 is going to be as stacked of a year in terms of Star Wars releases. So we may have some extra time to get some more Mandalorian in.
Who knows?
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. If you want to be a part of this conversation, you can email us at animalsquadron@gmail.com. Again, that is animalsquadron@gmail.com. For the Animal Squadron, this has been Mother Goose.
And House Dog.
Goodbye, everybody.
R.I.P. Low Tech Talk.
Rick, my brother.
Gone, but not forgotten.